The new millennium is here. In Sync, the internet, and Godzilla the Series, which is what we're taking a look at this week on the Why Is This a Cartoon Cast? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Why Is This a Cartoon Cast? It's the only show on the internet where we take a look at animated adaptations and ask the essential question, hey, why is this a cartoon? I'm your host, Joey. Joining me is Tim.
Yup.
And Chris.
Hola, friends.
Stop saying the F word. This week we're taking a look at Godzilla The Series. And did anybody pull up the Wikipedia?
Right here.
All right.
So,
Wait, we're not there yet.
oh.
There's rules. This was based off the Spike Lee film from 1998.
It was so shit.
I like the 1998 Godzilla.
I had a fondness for it.
Like,
Yeah,
Any movie that comes with a Taco Bell promotion is all right in my book.
Oh,
I'm
man,
going to need a bigger
forgot about
Phantom
that.
Menace, Godzilla.
I forgot about
I want to
that.
point out that Puff Daddy did his music video for this.
Oh, man, it was great.
There were bus ads that said, his foot is as long as this bus.
But he was digigrade. So his foot was actually longer than the bus when you think about it.
Shut the fuck up.
I remember seeing this movie in theaters and fucking loving it.
I remember seeing it in the theaters with my friend Jason, and we both were fucking pissed. So
You guys were British drunk?
Yeah, sure. We were British drunk over the whole thing. Because, as I might have said before, we used to watch all the guys when like.
Why did
TNT
you wait for me to swallow before you kept talking?
Because you might have done a spit take.
I
Because this is a bombshell. We would watch every time TNT would have the Godzilla Rama, we would actually watch it. Or Sci-Fi Channel would run the Godzilla movies in the marathon. We'd sit there, and even if we'd seen like Godzilla versus Mothra like 800 times, we'd still sit there and watch it. And watch the little twins go Mothra and the little shell thing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Am I the only one who thinks of Anvil when they think of Mothra?
Think of what?
Anvil, the band Anvil?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Kind of thought so.
This,
Metal on metal.
this has nothing to do with the fantastic kaiju series from the 70s and 80s.
Nope.
This is all about the terrible American bastardization of said kaiju franchise from the
Yes.
70s and 80s and 90s.
See.
That's why we were angry, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, is that an iguana? That's an iguana.
Even Toho, the creators of Godzilla, have acknowledged that is not the same creature. Which
Well,
is that's how you know you screwed up.
Yeah, when
They
Toho
killed it.
disowned it.
Yeah.
They killed it off in one of the movies.
Godzilla Final Wars.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Did they really?
Yeah, he
killed
gets
it, yeah.
he gets the smackdown laid on him.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That
he-
monster actually shows up too?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
They
actual
refer to
one?
him as Zilla, and they're like, "Oh, didn't that creature attack I can't do that accent. That's terrible.
Just don't. Yeah.
They're like, "Didn't that creature attack America in 1998 or whatever?" It's like, the Americans thought it was Godzilla, but it really wasn't. So like, even they were like, "Man, fuck that shit." Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was bad. It was
Matthew Broderick, Hank Azaria equals. I love it. I didn't hate it.
You know what though? Like
If-
Matthew Broderick can really kind of not do any wrong in my eyes. He was really good in the movie. I'll give him that.
Matthew Broderick can do wrong in no one's eyes except for those two women that he killed.
We're not going to talk about that.
What? We're not going to talk about those two women that were killed by Matthew Broderick in a driving accident.
That he has no remorse over. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
All right, let's stop talking
Talk
about
about
the
his-
two women that were killed by Matthew Broderick,
Well, I mean, he was
for which
amazing
he
in the movie
suffered
Glory.
no repercussions.
He was awesome in the movie Glory with Carrie Hughes and Morgan Freeman.
He was also in Attica with Morgan Freeman.
Was he?
He was also in The Alamo with Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman wasn't in that.
Billy Bob Thornton was, a.k.a. the White Morgan Freeman.
No, his voice isn't smooth molasses. His voice is more like single wide trailer fried chicken.
Tim, I need you to tell us about this cartoon because all I remember is that it was on Kids WB and I did not watch it.
Neither did
I
I.
watched it.
It
I
ran
thought it
from
was great.
September 12th, 1998 until
Wait. We can't just let that die. You were a fan of this, Chris?
I was a fan of
You
the show.
enjoyed it?
I was a fan of the show and the movie.
How old were you when this came out?
Well,
Teens.
I was 10 years old.
You were 10 years old?
Yeah, I liked it.
What year did it come out? 2000?
98.
98.
98
So
to
I was 14.
2001.
So that
Yeah.
might be why I didn't enjoy it, because I
Yep.
was a little older.
Yep.
I was into like Robotech and Sailor Moon. And
How long did this run for?
about 2 years. It ran from September of.
Was there a
98 till
series that came
April of
after this
2000.
that was called like Godzilla Unlimited or something?
Evolution or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
So we have to do another fucking Godzilla episode after this.
Oh,
We'll
don't
do
tell
that
me
much,
that.
much later.
Can we just put that off?
When we're squeezing the teeth dry, that'll
Yeah,
come out
well,
at the
that's when
end.
We'll do the third Godzilla show.
Yeah, like the long-awaited third one in the trilogy.
Yeah.
So it ran for 2 years. It was, 2 seasons.
How many episodes?
40 episodes.
38 of them aired.
Wow, 2 didn't air. Why?
Yeah, well, probably because they were shit.
Stop picking on Godzilla. What did he
Frank
do to
Welker did a
you?
voice in this, though. I don't know what he did, but he was a voice of something.
Was this an American show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were just ripping off
American,
anime.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, they're apparently it was American and Japanese or something.
this was like a direct sequel to the movie.
Yeah, it was definitely a direct sequel.
Yeah,
to
here.
the movie. It
Grab
picks
my
up-
phone. Don't look in the gallery.
I would never.
There's peepees in there.
Stop it.
Oh my god.
They're not mine.
I did Dave Brobst.
Yo, you gotta cut that out.
Wow, Tom Caney was in this show.
Yeah. There's no peepees in my phone's gallery. There's boobies though.
Oh, it was a Fox show. It wasn't even cartoon.
Yeah, it was
Network.
Fox.
It wasn't
Okay.
even Kids WB.
It was like what was it the kids WV show? Ghostbusters Extreme.
Extreme Ghostbusters. Great show.
Oh,
Can't wait
don't
till we
you
talk about the
fucking
show.
dare.
Oh, wait.
Don't you
would-
Why don't you
want
want to watch it?
It's a great show.
The original Ghostbusters?
Frank
Yeah.
Welker voiced Godzilla.
No, he didn't. Oh, shit on a shingle, he did. He's proud.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. That's not
That's Peter Weller.
Frank Welker is the voice of
Welker.
Cobra Commander.
it. Don't you mean
I
Cobra?
can't do it right now. My throat's a little hoarse. So,
All right, we're recording again.
okay. Well, we weren't recording that whole
No, I
time.
paused it when the man who gave us hooch came in.
Oh, okay. So, hold on a sec. Hold on, I have to go back. Like, Godzilla 1978 had like 8 pages of notes in my book. This has like 4.
Yeah,
I only have like a paragraph because
You sat there and watched it?
I watched it.
the show sucked.
There was a lot of dialogue.
Did this
Yeah.
kill your childhood upon revisiting it?
A little bit. I mean, I think if I didn't watch the first episode, I'd probably like it. A lot
This
more.
picks up the exactly where the movie
Yeah.
leaves
Like,
off.
and
Yeah.
right at the end of it with the chasing the taxi and everything.
Because the
so they
movie
go-
ends with there's one egg left.
Yeah, so Godzilla's dead really early in the episode because it's the end of the movie. But then they need to go back and find the stupid shit cliffhanger from the movie in Madison Square Garden.
Well, they said Penn Station.
Was it Penn Station?
Yeah, in the movie it was the garden, but in the show they said Penn
Maybe because Madison
Station.
Square Garden's copyrighted of some sort and they can't really say it.
Maybe.
I don't remember.
Maybe that's why they did that, because the whole fucking fight scene in that movie was at the garden.
It's
Yeah.
crazy you remember that movie so well.
Because I love it so much.
Really?
Not really. If you watch it now, I cringe because the CGI
It's got Hank
is-
Azaria in it and that old white-haired guy. What else was that guy in?
What old white?
He was like the mayor or something, the heavyset mayor.
Oh, that guy.
I remember him from so much.
He was an elf. I know he was an elf.
Who was he in Elf?
I thought the
He
kid
was
from
James Caan's boss in Elf.
I thought the kid from A Christmas
I
Story
gotta
was an elf.
IMDb this guy. There were multiple people in Elf. Zoe Deschanel was an elf.
He was in
I
Blank
know, I
Check,
love Zoe
too.
Deschanel.
That's what I remember.
Zoe,
from
if you-
Blank Check. He
So-
was the bank manager.
Yep.
Yep. The bank manager from Blank Check. My pitch for the end of this is Blank Check. The end.
So, Zoe Deschanel, if you're listening to this, call me. Anyway, I miss you. Anyway, so we need to. So we do.
Oh,
the
New
open-
Girl, the animated series.
Hitchhiker's
It's a
Guide
great
to-
show. That's a great show.
What?
New Girl with Zoe Deschanel.
No, I don't remember.
It's a solid show.
I heard good things.
I enjoyed it.
So the opening starts playing, but let's point out that way cooler monsters in this opening than in the Godzilla series.
What was
Yeah,
that?
they were like
Original.
Cthulhu.
Yeah, like they're
esque.
very cyclopean. Ex machina.
Wasn't there a band that did a song about Godzilla? Joe, how did that go again?
I think it went Godzilla, Godzilla does whatever Godzilla does.
I'm gonna throw my beer bottle at you.
Comes from water, has atomic breath. He will stomp on you until death. Look out. He is the Godzilla.
I'm totally going to kill you with a beer bottle right now. Could you smash this off your counter? It's not my house.
Gojira. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that was definitely
was
the song
good.
we were thinking of. We weren't totally thinking of a famous 70s weirdo band's version of it.
Rubber suits. Listen, bud.
Keep going. You know, let's just keep this rolling.
No. I don't want to have to cut out all the dead air, so I won't bother to keep trying.
So anyway, yes, there was a band from the early 70s up through the now that recorded a song about Godzilla.
The Blue Nile?
You're close.
Was it on their album Hats?
You got the blue right, but I don't think you got the other ones right. The rest
Devo?
No.
Devo?
I'll give you a clue. Cowbell.
Could have been a B-side.
Yeah, to what? The Devo song?
Do you really not love Devo?
No, I love Devo.
It sounds like you don't love Devo.
They tell us
I was at a record fair like 2 weeks ago.
we lost our tails, evolving up from little snails. Yeah, no, I love
say
Devo.
it's all
Oh,
just wind and sails. Are we not men? We are Devo. Are we not men? DVO.
Yeah.
DVO. I was at a record fair a couple weeks ago. My score was this album put out by like a radio station in the 80s for a contest they had for local bands to submit their best Devo cover. And so they put out an album of all these like local bands doing Devo covers. It's so freaking cool.
Is it really? Did it come with a hat?
It didn't come with a hat.
So-
It didn't come with an energy dome. That's what they're called.
I think that the audience, actually, all three people who listened to our podcast actually heard me roll my eyes.
Are we not men? We are Devo. Are we not men? DVO. Hey! I actually know that more from Weird Al than from the actual
I'm
song.
not going to admit to that.
I'll admit, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, no, it's true. I know that song more from Weird Al too. It was
It was on one of his polka.
it was on Alapalooza.
I don't know. I just know it was on one of his. Because right after it was like, smoke
No, it was on Fat.
on the water, on fire in the sky.
Oh yeah, it was something radio polka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or polka on 45.
Polka on 45.
Yeah,
that's
it was
what
on Weird Al in 3D.
Was it in 3D? Oh.
Yes, because that's my most listened to Weird Al album.
Honestly,
What?
Alapalooza is still my favorite because of Jurassic
Dude.
Park is frightening in the dark, and all the dinosaurs are running.
No way,
wild.
man. Weird Al in 3D is nothing but bangers.
Doesn't that have Nature Train to Hell and 3D
Yeah,
on the end of it?
yep.
Okay, no, you're right. That is.
It's
an
also
amazing
got
album.
Midnight Star. It's also got I'm gonna buy me a condo. I'm gonna buy me a Cuisinart.
Oh my God.
Get the wall-to-wall carpeting. Get the wallet full of crap. We're gonna listen to that on the ride home. We're gonna listen to Weird
I
Al.
will put
3D.
Weird Al on. Yeah,
I have
that's
it
fine.
on my phone.
Do you actually have it?
Oh yeah. Downloaded.
Oh, nice.
Next to my The Pixies playlist.
Wow.
Yeah, but I've got a certain music app that we could find our show on anyway.
Are you talking about Spotify or are
Yeah.
you talking about Google Music?
See, I have.
Because you can find
Spotify.
us on either.
Really? Which one do you have? You have Google Music, don't you?
Yeah,
So we could both find our podcast. In fact, let me just play you an episode of our podcast.
No,
on our podcast.
We're going
Anyway.
to totally inception you. We're going to do a podcast within a podcast within a podcast
Dude. Oh, okay, pause it. Pause it.
within a podcast.
Pause it real quick.
Put my beverage down. What's that, Chris? Did you watch? Because the link that Tim sent us, it had part 1 and 2 of the first 2 episodes of this flowed together.
Yeah.
So, Chris, did you watch both episodes? Like the good little diligent podcast host that you are.
I didn't.
Tim,
Oops.
did you watch both episodes?
Fuck no.
Well, I am personally shocked and ashamed.
Did you watch
Because-
both episodes?
This is my excuse, though.
Yeah.
I waited until the last minute to watch these, as I do, because I know that helps me get in the moment easier.
Yeah, same here. Not totally because I'm lazy and didn't have 2 weeks to do
So
it.
at 5 a.m. this morning, I put this on while I was getting ready for work, and then I was like, you know what? There's 2 parts? No, I'll just wing the second part. So the fact that we all brushed it off is number one concerning for me as the showrunner, and number two, it makes me thankful.
Yeah, because so they go back to wherever the fuck it was, and the soldiers go down Penn Station. They're going down the search for like the
missing egg.
On the way, they get accosted by several homeless people.
Yes. Got any change? Space change? Oh wait, no, that's Where Is Zog. Anyway. Spoiler alert for a Guar song that's been out for 15 years. Anyway. Balzac, fire the plasma cannon. What? Are you giving me orders? Just because you're louder than me doesn't mean you're in charge. I mean, look, space change. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you want to fire that cannon now? Still one of my favorite moments on a Guar album.
Wait, speaking of this episode this copy of the episode that we watched on YouTube, this, like, Tim, this was a terrible quality upload.
It was.
It was all zoomed in.
Yeah, it was bad.
Cut off like 80%. You didn't even try to find a better one, did you?
I give you the first one I found.
You didn't even check to see if it looked all right. You were like, oh, this says Godzilla Episode 1.
And it's 21 minutes. It's 21 minutes long. About as long.
It didn't say 20 minutes. It said 44 minutes.
Yeah, it was 30. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I watched a different link.
Because they had...
Why the fuck would you watch a different link than the one you sent us?
Because when I searched, it gave me a different link.
You
last
suck.
Night.
You probably didn't even watch the first episode. You probably watched the third episode.
No, because I'm pretty much on page with you guys. I never got around to part 2.
We haven't even gotten into the episode yet.
It seems like we really don't want to talk about it.
What? What do you mean, pal?
No.
Goddamn.
No, rein it in.
What?
Damn it.
Let's
Did
be
you
honest.
listen to this week's episode of the Stone Cold Podcast? He's just looking at old pictures and talking about them.
Oh, here's a pair of me with these nice Texas boots I got.
When I was stoning Steve. Back in the World Championship Wrestling.
When that motherfucking Eric Bischoff sent me a goddamn pink slip through the
Brian
fucking mail.
Pillman.
Fucking hey, fucking Eric
One of
Bischoff.
the best ring technicians I ever worked with.
I could have been WCW World Champ going against Ric Flair, motherfucker.
I hate you both so much. But I love you guys at the same time. It's a love-hate relationship.
Wow, I don't have like any notes for the first several minutes of this cartoon.
Yeah, like
And nothing really happens. Like, that was my biggest flaw with
He's
the
crawling through the tunnels.
he finds the baby and it swims off into the ocean.
Yeah, he's with the army man, and the army man is like, "We got to get this guy." So no, you missed the part because he finds the
there's a
egg
baby.
before it hatches. He gets covered in Godzilla goo,
Oh, and then it prints on him because he thinks he's his mama.
and then the baby Godzilla hatches and licks him, and then swims away.
Yeah.
And
it's
then
kinda
he
cute.
goes back to the army guy, and he's like, "Did you find anything?" He's like, "Nope." Liar.
Did he say no?
I don't remember.
I thought he said he did find it, but they're like, oh, we have to destroy it. And we're like, no, we have to study it. Or is that later?
That
That's
might be
later.
later.
So Matthew Broderick goes back.
Yeah, I wish it was Matthew Broderick.
It
But it was the
Matthew.
voice of, what's his name from Clerks?
What?
It was,
It sounded like Don.
not Dante. The
Steve
other one.
Dave?
Randall?
Yeah.
Silent Bob?
It sounded like Randall, but was it actually Randall?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think it couldn't
No,
have
because
been.
they voiced themselves on Clerks, the cartoon.
But he might have gotten picked up extra work. doing the
No,
voice of,
Jeff Anderson was not hated acting. And he never wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's why it was so hard to make Clerks 2.
I still think they need to make another Clerks movie.
Kevin Smith wants to because
I
he
thought
has
they
no more ideas.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff Anderson is what's holding him back because he's like, fuck this. I
At
live
least
in the
they've-
mountains now.
Mountains in New Jersey.
Yeah.
He's like
Mountains of garbage.
He's like out of society now.
Well,
It's
the
very
thing is, we're so off topic, it's not even funny.
I would rather talk about Clerks.
Honestly, I don't really want to talk about the show either. Did this deserve to be a cartoon? No, we're done. Bye, guys. See you next week.
No, we're not doing that.
Ah, damn. All right, so they search for the last egg. Some computer whiz bullshit.
No, this was made back during a time when the computers were still magic, because he goes back to his lair in the Matthew Broderick goes back to his lab in like
No, he doesn't. He calls back to the street computer whiz kid.
oh yes, he's back on the street. He goes back onto the street with the tent and the sick man and the
He
redhead.
calls back to them on the radio.
spunky
And they can't get
girl.
on the internet because the internet is clogged.
Am I allowed to speak on my own podcast? I think I've earned that
You're not allowed to speak nonsense that didn't happen in the show.
I remember when Nicholas Pietrasante ran for 4,400 yards per game. So what I'm saying is Matthew Broderick gets back to the surface, and then he looks at the camera, and he's like, are you guys still here? The movie's over. But on the surface, we're introduced to Spunky Redhead. Oh, answer it.
Oh, fuck you. I'm not answering
That's
a
the
spam
rule.
risk.
That's the rule. You got to answer the phone
So-
if it rings during the podcast.
Really?
It could be
Yeah.
Ric Flair calling you. What the fuck?
No, it was a spam risk. Although I should have answered it and put it on speaker so we could hear the bullshit I get.
Yes. You've won a vacation. What's your credit card number?
Oh, could we fuck with them?
Uh,
Okay, so next podcast that it happens on, where one of our phone rings and it's obviously a scammer, we're going to pick up and we're going to fuck with them on the podcast for you
Agreed.
people.
Absolutely.
Agreed. So Matthew Broderick goes to the surface, and we're
Yeah.
introduced to his cohorts.
Mhm.
Sick chubby scientist man, a.k.a. Comic Relief.
Angry red hair lady.
Spunky Redhead.
Oh my god, I'm such a bitch.
I have this note. Spunky girls in cartoons always have red hair. It's true.
Ah, you're right. Oh
Like-
wait, danger prone Daphne was not spunky.
How do we convey to the audience that she goes against the grain? Let's give her red hair.
Yeah.
No, but Daphne was like a redhead. I'm talking about like someone with dyed red hair.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair.
Like Joan of
Do you-
Arc on
do you
Clone
think,
High.
do you think Daphne's carpet matched her drapes? It
See,
was
now
the
I gotta
60s.
cut that out.
Okay, here we go.
It was the 60s. You know she was
What's your
rocking
black and white
up to
cat's name?
Dusty.
He is taking a shit.
right next to you.
That's a dusty finish right there.
Is it kicking up a cloud coming out at that speed or something?
That's the American dream, but that's the road there, baby.
Oh my!
It's getting funky like a monkey,
Why are
baby.
you watching a cat take a dump?
Taking a dump in
hasn't
the litter
started
box,
yet.
baby.
I'm trying to intimidate him.
Oh my god! I'm gonna just. We might have.
Dusty, no. Dusty.
This is the first podcast where the cat is taking a shit on live. It's amazing. Is he burying it now?
Stop it. He hasn't gone yet.
Did he might have just peed?
He hasn't even gone yet.
Is he digging a hole for it?
He had to dig the hole first, baby. And then after that,
Dusty.
baby, he's going to take a shit.
Dusty, hide your shame,
He
Dusty.
doesn't give a fuck. He's a cat. He licks his own butt in front of everybody.
All right, so we're introduced to the two side characters.
How can you talk about Godzilla?
And they're
there's
trying
a black and
to-
white kitty cat taking a poop right next to
They're
you?
trying.
His name is Dusty Rose, baby. What the hell are you talking about?
Are you watching? You just look at the cat taking a dump.
He's
Look at-
baking brownie.
Look into his eyes so he can finish, baby.
Dusty, why? Okay, this is ridiculous.
This is the worst episode we've done yet, which means it's the best episode we've done yet.
Why do they need to get online to track Godzilla?
Yeah, like,
Obviously.
they want to
They
check
wanna-
they would check his Twitter feed to see where he's.
Yeah, like how are they supposed to track him? Like his heat signature or something? I don't remember the dumb explanation.
Oh,
It didn't
power
make sense.
outages and stuff like that because the monsters knock out the power and stuff. I guess.
Okay, so the point is that they couldn't track him because the computers were down. Because this was made during a time when computers were still magical.
I hope the mics are picking.
In the
up that cat
year
kicking stuff.
2000.
Oh, I wish we had all done.
Should we try to do it at the same time?
No, it's
Let's do
not as
I
magical.
ruined
when we
it.
just
I'll
call
cut it
on.
out. Smells like shit. Thanks a lot, Dusty. This reminds me of when I used to volunteer at the animal shelter. Oh, get away from my box now. Fucker.
You dirty little kitty. Come here. Good job shitting on the podcast. Here's
Fuck
some
you.
patents.
Here's some patents.
What is going on in this episode?
I don't know. Like,
I
there's
So so his computer hacker friend fixes the
internet.
internet. He hacks into a satellite.
He turned it
and
off and turned it back on.
Renavigates the blah blah blah.
He remapped the network system, and he's like, "Oh, come on, baby!" Like they
Computers
all
are
say.
magical, and this man fixed it. That's the important thing.
Well, that's because they had.
So they go
AOL.
back to the lab.
There's a cutaway scene somewhere in here
Oh, Jamaica.
to Jamaica with the oily monster
Yes.
and people running and screaming
I
because
thought that was going to come back. It probably does in part 2 of the episode.
It does. Yeah, the second part there's mostly of that because they go to Jamaica.
Do they also go to Aruba?
Aruba.
Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahamas. Come on, pretty mama. Key Largo, Montego. Baby, why don't we go down to Kokomo? We'll get there fast and then we'll take it slow. That's where we wanna go. Way down in Kokomo, Aruba, Jamaica.
That just fucking happened.
It did.
Wow, that was magical. Get fucking Brian Wilson in here right now and his fucking pet sounds.
Goddamn, we'll drop it
on his goddamn dime of bills, motherfucker. What?
The best podcast episode yet. I'm pretty
So
sure.
it cuts away to Jamaica. There's an oil monster that's setting up the later half of the episode
that none of us watched.
that none of us watched.
To be fair, though, people did die. People did die. It did drag people into the water, and I'm not going to assume it served the Mai Tais.
Oh wait, before we even get to Jamaica, we gotta
poop next.
we gotta backtrack because I have a couple notes. This show is tonally, this is the exact opposite of the other Godzilla.
It really
cartoon.
is.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so it's where I
Not in a good way.
So it's definitely a late '90s cartoon, and I've written after that too edgy for me.
This is straight up knockoff Japanimation.
Yeah. Actually, I've written after too edgy for me. This is shit.
And the fat man's gimmick is that he's sick all the time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, he's always, what was he, coughing or sneezing?
Sneezing.
He got stuffy nose. So then we go to Jamaica. And the guy is giving a Godzilla tour. He's like, this is where the Godzilla footprint is, man.
Yeah.
And that's not a racist thing, me doing it, because that's exactly how it sounds in the cartoon, because I guarantee it was a white guy that voice acted that part.
Does a white guy voice Hermes on Futurama?
No, Phil Lamar does.
Boom.
My man witch.
Woman, make me another time. I can't even.
Barbados Slim. But the Godzilla tours totally reminded me of Tremors 3.
Oh. Is that the one with the ones that fly by farting?
The ass blasters.
Oh my god. I like how they can only get back what's his name for them. Oh no, wait, the one dude from the first movie came back in the fourth or fifth one? Not Emilio Estevez, the other one.
Emilio Estevez wasn't in any of them.
Kevin Bacon?
Was it Kevin Bacon in the first one?
Kevin Bacon was
Yeah.
only in the first one.
Only in the first one.
Why did I think it
And
was
then
Emilio Estevez?
What was the other guy?
The other guy's the one that showed up.
What the fuck is the other guy's name?
That guy showed up until part 2.
And then third one was the guy from fucking Family Ties, the dad from
Yeah,
Family Ties.
he was in all of them.
He was in, yeah.
God bless that man. His name was Bert. The character's name was Bert.
What? I thought the dad from Family Ties was the guy that's wife
I
swapped
can't
with
believe
Gilbert
that's the
Godfrey.
fucking dad.
Michael
from
Gross.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then Fred Ward was the
Yeah, Fred Ward.
was the other guy.
What else? He was in Road Trip. He was the dad in Road Trip.
Was he?
You charged this friggin' meal to that friggin' car. Can we just talk about the episode of Growing Pains where it was Growing Pains, right?
Family Ties.
Family Ties.
Not Family Ties.
With Tom Hanks as the alcoholic uncle. Was Seaver?
Was that? Yeah, that was.
All those shows blend together for me because I never really
What was
watched
the one
any
with
of
the
them.
guy?
Look it up.
Tom Hanks is the uncle, and he's like downstairs, and he's like, "We're gonna have a party," and he just like starts drinking like maraschino cherries or something.
Go poop in the box, Orange Cat.
Yep, it
It's
was. Yeah, 3 episodes. Family Ties.
And that was Michael J. Fox too, right?
Yeah, that was Michael.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox is like, I think you should go to
Appreciate
bed, and he's like, "You need to back up."
I just remember Tom Hanks being on an episode of Taxi, and he was high as fuck. He got high with Christopher Lloyd. He
That sounds
introduced
about right.
Christopher Lloyd into like the wacky weed. And that's
What
why
is-
Reverend Jim turned out the way he did.
What is up with Tom Hanks and being on shows where he's into controlled substances?
Because he's Tom fucking Hanks. The only
Fair
person
enough.
cooler than Tom Hanks is Bill Murray.
That's true.
I feel like Bill Murray's probably not that cool in real life.
Did you
When
hear
I
this?
hear that Tom Hanks and Bill Murray both do random things.
Did you hear that story with the Bill Murray and that guy at the restaurant?
Yeah,
Aiden's French
they'll
fries that
never
no one will
believe
believe
you.
Nobody will ever believe you.
That's amazing. And the worst part
And
is it might be a lie, but it might have actually happened.
The other time where he crashed somebody's bachelor party.
Oh, or he crashed the wedding and he started tending bar and he would only give people shots of tequila. There's pictures of that though. There's pictures of Tom Hanks sitting in a restaurant like with a passed out guy on the table. Like, yeah, you missed Tom Hanks, motherfucker.
I remember the two Bill Murray stories that I always remember is he doesn't have a manager. The only way to reach him is voicemail.
Oh yeah, no, it's an answering machine.
Yeah.
And you call him and you leave a message on his answering machine.
And his assistant for a period of a couple years was like a blind deaf woman. Like that was his personal assistant.
What the fuck?
He is amazing.
He's like, I don't know.
He's
I love Bill Murray, but like he's something up with him.
I want to hang out with Bill Murray.
Bill Murray does not want to hang out with you.
You don't even know that. He's probably listening.
Bill Murray is a recluse. He just wants to be in the woods.
I think we should call Bill Murray and have him get on the podcast.
You know what'd be funny? I could actually see it probably happening. We don't have money to give you. It's fine.
We just have to tell him that this podcast is the latest Wes Anderson vehicle.
We need to ask Wes Anderson for his phone number. Why do I have a feeling Wes Anderson has a...
Wild Things? That was his first serious movie.
Wild Things?
Yeah.
Was it really?
Was it? With Matt Dillon and the two girls?
Yeah, I guess that would be.
That was when Bill Murray was like, I'm going to be a serious
Why are we still talking about
actor.
this with Christmas clock going in the background? Have some respect.
I don't think it's going to get picked up.
It is loud as hell, and you're telling me that's not
It's
picking up.
definitely getting picked up. Whatever. Fuck it.
God, you're dumb sometimes. I love you.
We got to get back to the cartoon.
What cartoon?
There's a cartoon we reviewed.
Scientist Man introduces the Scrappy-Doo of this series.
Oh, the robot with the running gag to it that I love,
What's the running gag?
where it gets slapped by Godzilla and screams and explodes when it hits the ground.
Is that that didn't happen?
It happened three
happened.
times in this episode.
Yeah. The quality we watched was so shitty we couldn't tell, but it happened.
Oh yeah, the
I
one I
didn't
watched
pick up on that at
was
all.
actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Yeah, it
It
was
was,
like
is the robot Nigel?
Yeah, Nigel, and
He's
it should
voiced
be
by
Nigel.
voiced by Tom Kenny.
I thought you were gonna say Tom Hanks.
Nope. If it was voiced by Tom Hanks, he'd be swigging mouthwash and slapping around Michael J. Fox. Spin City was okay.
Oh yeah, and the robot's leading a trail of fish to a Tom and Jerry trap to catch the new Godzilla.
Yeah, their plan is to capture the little baby Godzilla.
Yes, the little baby Godzilla with the roar of its mother.
They said father in the show, which I got confused by. Because how the fuck did he lay eggs?
He's like a
It's like a
clownfish.
He's a clownfish.
You know what? Let's just use that as the answer for any random question from here on out.
I live in an anemone.
Hey, what?
An anemone.
What?
An anemone.
What?
An anemone.
What?
An anemone.
What? 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 What?
It doesn't matter. God. So they build the trap. They go to Jamaica. They write it off as a business expense.
Wait, where the fuck are you guys?
They're in Jamaica.
Who's in Jamaica?
They want to take you to Jamaica. The scientists, that's where they bring the trap.
Well, no. What episode did you watch?
Chesko, back me
The
up.
quality was so shitty. I can't tell.
So
Back
what
me
happens-
up.
They set up the trap.
They go to
And then
Jamaica.
No, they're in
They,
the
they
harbor.
later in the second episode they go to Jamaica.
I didn't watch the second episode, so there's no way. They go to Jamaica in the first episode. Because I was like, how the fuck do they know? There's no way that's the same Godzilla. Because like when
the military go to Jamaica thinking that it was Godzilla in Jamaica.
I swear to God, they also go to Jamaica.
No,
Because
they
I was
don't.
like,
not yet,
Because they're still in New York, because other
they're
stuff
still in
happens.
New York because they still have the.
that changes all of my notes. Because I was like, there's no way Godzilla just happened to also be in Jamaica.
Yeah, because they go to Jamaica thinking that Godzilla's in Jamaica, but it's actually that oily.
Isn't that where the
Tentacle
Crypt Keeper
thing.
went on vacation?
No, he went to Romania.
I thought he went to Pennsylvania.
Transylvania?
Transylvania.
65000.
The Fly.
How about the
That's what I'm
Blob?
thinking.
Ew, that movie has that creepy rapist guy in it too.
Yeah, he was a very popular actor.
That's so frustrating.
Can't look him in the same event.
Well, why do you keep calling him a creepy rapist guy?
Because he's in jail for fucking
Yeah.
pedophilia.
I did not know that, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly
Yeah.
didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
The
so-
principal from Ferris Bueller.
No way.
Yes.
Not surprised at all.
And the dad from Seventh Heaven, a.k.a. the douchebag from Brewster's Millions.
Oh, I forgot he was in Brewster's Millions.
That shit pissed me off so bad.
I think The Toy was a better movie than Brewster's Millions.
Well, that's why you're kicked off the podcast.
God damn it. Well, it took a few weeks, but it happened again. Good night, everybody.
I told you I'd get you. What the hell is going on in the episode, Chris?
I don't
Please
know.
reel us back in.
I have no clue what's going on. You only have a paragraph.
Last time I have was so Godzilla keeps breaking Nigel, and then
I can't believe I missed all of that.
So no, okay. So I got yous. Do you want me to reel this in?
yeah. So then what we have Audrey.
Nigel makes a trap.
Yeah.
Okay. They use the roar, but then they get the report of Jamaica, things happening in Jamaica, and they're like, oh, he got to Jamaica. So they start reeling in the traps, or the sound lures, and then all of a sudden Godzilla comes flying up through the water and goes over to the trap, and oh my God, he's big now. Mm-hmm. After the oh my God, he's big now moment,
The military.
How did he
shows up.
grow
No,
so
not
fast? What's the timeline of this episode?
the timeline's like a week.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I guess because
Oh,
Pretty
I want to
radioactive.
dial it back real quick. Because in the intro, he climbs up the Empire State Building.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out
yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's an angry gorilla somewhere in the world.
of here.
So
Stealing my gimmick.
So he comes out of the water. He starts to eat the fish, and somehow they send the robot after him. He kicks the robot. It explodes. Matthew Brock gets trapped outside, and Godzilla picks him up, and he looks like he's about to eat him, but then he licks him, and he's like, "Oh, hi, I love you." And then, the rest of the episode happens.
Godzilla remembers him because he was splattered with goo.
The goo.
And I hate to keep bringing up Breaking Dawn Part 2.
What do you mean keep bringing it up? This is the first time. Have you been cutting in yourself talking about Breaking Dawn?
Oh my God.
It's just like Jacob and Renesmee.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Bella and Edward's daughter Renesmee. That's what they named this horrible demon baby.
What are you fucking talking
Because
about?
it's a portmanteau of Renee and Esme.
I wish the audience could look at the look I'm giving you right now. First off, okay, so you know what my experience with the...
So Edward and Bella,
Here we
they
go.
get married at the beginning of Breaking Dawn, and then they bone it out on their honeymoon, which he rents like a private island, and they bone it out hardcore. And since she's a human and he's a vampire, in case you guys didn't know. So she gets impregnated by his horrible demon sperm.
Why?
And then there's an extended birthing sequence in the woods.
Do we see Kristen Stewart's vagina?
You don't.
Well,
Because
then I
I'm
don't
pretty
wanna
sure
see
the
it.
baby cesareans itself out of her stomach.
Does it chew its way out like a xenomorph?
It's pretty brutal. But anyway,
Does it go screaming into an air vent?
they named the baby Renesmee.
Which is a portmanteau of
Renee and Esme or something. It's like both of their mothers' names or something like that.
gay.
It's been a while since I read the books.
Why would you...
We don't have time.
I'm just going to point out that my experience with the Twilight series was my old roommate April handing me a copy of the first book. She goes, just read it. I said, it's going to be stupid. She goes, no, just read it. So I decided to give it a chance. I got halfway through the first chapter, and I put it down and looked at it. I said, this is terrible.
I read all those books in a week.
I couldn't
I
get past the
chewed
first
through
chapter.
them.
Like, you had to have, it's like me reading Battlefield Earth. You had to have forced yourself.
No, they were lovely.
They were not
The
lovely.
only one I didn't part 2 I didn't enjoy a lot. And then part 3 was just okay. But
This is
Breaking
why is
Dawn,
this a Twilight movie podcast?
I love Breaking Dawn. I'm not gonna lie. So give birth to Renesmee. It's a portmanteau. Not important. And then Jacob, the werewolf boy. He's not actually a werewolf because the Quaalude tribe, the tribe that he's a part of, they're shapeshifters. They're shapeshifters. They're not actually werewolves. They're shapeshifters that happen to turn into werewolves. That's why it's not a violation of the Volturi's they have like a truce. The Volturi are like the head vampires in Italy.
I'm gonna shoot myself in the head now. Keep going.
So the Quaalude tribe, they're shapeshifters, right? And Jacob is the one who's crushing on Bella hardcore. That's why there was like Team Edward, Team Jacob. But Jacob imprints on the little baby Renesmee, and that's why in Breaking Dawn Part 2, Kristen Stewart is like, "You imprinted on my baby daughter?" Which is the fucking creepiest thing ever when you think about it.
That was your Twilight moment of the week, folks. Please join us next week for Twilight Part 2.
So Godzilla imprints on Matthew Broderick is what I'm getting at.
Hey, you guys hear something? You hear that? Tomatoes.
I'm back. What'd I miss? I was in hell. I saw the rest of my family. It was nice. Anyway.
So Renesmee, it's a portmanteau.
You know what? This one's for you now.
Oh, my most of me.
Are we done?
That was fantastic. Oh, shit.
So Matthew Broderick is able to train Godzilla for some reason.
Yeah, like a dog. I don't know.
He just immediately obeys him. So which is crazy because like, why does the Japanese sea monster understand English? First of all,
Well, because it's the American sea monster, not the Japanese one.
fair enough. Where does Godzilla come from in the
He's
Roland
a
Emmerich
nuclear
version?
mutation.
He still comes from the Pacific.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and then-
Japanese sea monster.
No, he was from the Bikini Atoll.
So Renesmee, it's a portmanteau. I feel like I'm not even using that word right.
Why did the Godzilla in the movie come to the Atlantic, though? What was that main reason?
Portmanteau. Well, it's like Cloverfield where they had the slush show.
A large trunk or suitcase, typically made of stiff leather and opening into 2 equal parts.
You are way.
No, I want the second definition, which says a word blending the sounds and combining the meanings of 2 others. For example, motel from motor and hotel, or brunch from breakfast or lunch.
We're lucky.
Hey, the word podcast is a portmanteau, a made-up word coined from the combination of the words iPod and broadcast. I didn't know that.
I actually knew that.
You fucking did not. You also didn't know that Renesmee is a portmanteau.
Get that gun ready, Tim.
Oh my god. I only have 4 shots left. Cut it out.
He's bleeding out over here, man. Come on. Game over, man. Game over.
I literally decorated the ceiling with my brains. And
I was upset when Breaking Dawn ended. I was upset.
Do you want to go back to Jamaica, buddy?
What
Wanna
is
go back to
going on
Jamaica?
in this episode?
Remember that time we sang the Beach Boys together?
What is going on in this episode?
Well, at one point, his girlfriend, the reporter, shows up to try to get
His ex-girlfriend.
Was it his ex-girlfriend? I thought it was his girlfriend, and she was jealous of the redhead.
No, they weren't dating anymore.
They weren't dating? Okay.
Because when the reporter and the cameraman are sneaking up, and she's like, "I thought you guys weren't dating anymore." They say something. They bring it up. Oh, and they drop a sweet, totally relevant Connie Chung reference. Did you guys pick that one up?
No.
Oh my god, why do I have in my notes, Tim, you're bad and your ideas are bad?
Because I just suggested this one too. Because this was my idea too.
Yeah, thanks for that.
No problem.
Oh, there's also a point where Matthew Broderick's like, "Oh, he can't reproduce. I've run tests." No, you haven't. What tests have you run, Matthew Broderick?
And he said he. Did he say he?
I don't remember.
What?
But I think he just said Godzilla.
Just said Godzilla.
But the Godzilla in like the Toho series, like that's a guy, right?
Yeah, that's-
Like,
yeah.
I know the guy.
Yeah. And the American version, it was a female. I think.
So Connie, it has to be because it lays eggs.
It has to be.
So Connie Chung shows up,
Connie Chung shows up.
and she's like, "I can't believe you were hiding this from me."
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I was hiding it from everybody. And then the army shows up, and they're like,
Freddie Mercury with his being gay and having AIDS.
which is a portmanteau.
Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome? Yeah, I hear that.
So then the military shows up and they try to kill Godzilla.
Yeah, the military shows up, and
sh-
they automatically just have like tanks and planes at the ready. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they throw Godzilla jumps in the water and they throw a grenade and blows up and then it cuts to black.
no. Before that, he rips some sweet atomic breath. Finally, thank God.
Thank God this Godzilla actually has time.
He doesn't do it in the '78 series. He doesn't do it in the Roland Emmerich movie. He does it in the cartoon. He doesn't do it in the Roland.
No, he doesn't.
There's a part where he roars and cars explode.
Yeah.
But he doesn't actually do the atomic breath. So yeah, and then it fades back black and is like continued in part 2,
Mm-hmm.
which none of us watched.
I watched on Fast Forward.
It doesn't count.
They killed the weird sea
didn't want
monster
to.
from Jamaica. That's all you need to know. They go to Jamaica and they kill the sea monster.
So this was very, this was a frustrating watch because it had the potential to be something cool. I'm sure once they got into it, it became more of a Monster of the Week type thing,
Yeah.
which is what it needs to be. This was way too plot heavy. Like,
They had to set a lot of things up because it was just right after the movie. So they had to
I think they should have just skipped all of that entirely.
Yeah.
I
Like,
they should have just made their own
I'm sure when the show premiered, they ran these 2 episodes together
problem.
because you need to, I'm assuming. But all this exposition is meaningless. We don't need to know about these relationships with the reporter and Matthew Broderick and those 2 women that he killed in the car accident. But we've watched 2 of these Godzilla shows now, and it's just crazy how disappointing they are.
Yes.
Like,
Honestly, I thought the '78 Godzilla was gonna be better because I could have sworn it was better, but it really wasn't. And then this, I just knew it existed, and I thought, well, it's a '90s edge cartoon for kids on Fox, so it's probably not terrible. And then I remembered the Spider-Man cartoon and how fucking bad that was, which we'll have to do that eventually.
You don't like the Spider-Man cartoon?
I thought it was poop.
he's
The
talking
nor-
about the 70s Spider-Man cartoon, not
That
the
one
90s one.
No, the '90s one was pretty crap too. It was like X-Men, where it was
What?
poorly animated.
Whoa,
and crap.
90s
Whoa.
X-Men was dope.
What are you talking about?
90s
doesn't hold
Spider-Man
up.
was boring. 90s X-Men was dope. It does hold up because I watched it a couple years ago. Several years ago.
A decade and a half ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah, try again.
1972.
I watched it in college.
So my problem is, it was awesome as a kid. Honest to God, it was. It was really cool. But now I watch it again, and I think I've been spoiled by, really awesome cartoons. I can't think of one off the top of my fucking head.
The issue
Like
with
Korgoth of Barbarian.
the issue with why Godzilla doesn't translate to a series is because all you want is Godzilla fighting a monster.
Or smashing a city.
That's all you want. But you can't do that in a weekly show. And they couldn't even do it in the movies because they still had the human segments. But the thing of it was, like, the humans were not
The main character.
the main characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. They shared screen time with Godzilla.
Yeah.
It was equal. In this, it always feels like he's a side character, which is insane. But they feel like they need to insert these human characters just to have some sort of a plot. And maybe you can't do a Godzilla cartoon. Maybe it won't work.
It works as a video game. There was several Godzilla video games that were really good. And don't forget about Rampage, which was pretty much the Godzilla video game, which was pretty damn fun. A video game where you play as a monster who fights just other monsters or smashes a city is hilariously fun, at least for people
Yeah,
our
but
age.
in a video game like that, you don't need a plot.
Exactly. So that's why it works. It doesn't work as a show
So-
for the reasons you stated.
So Godzilla should not be a cartoon.
No, it does not deserve to be
No,
a
I don't
cartoon.
think
It doesn't work.
No, you know what? It deserves to be a cartoon, but it's almost impossible to make a good cartoon out of it that you can actually have a plot.
There's no way to do a Monster of the Week type thing without actual human characters, and the
Yes.
human characters are what ruined both of these shows.
Yes, I agree completely. Now, if we just saw Lovecraftian monsters fighting Godzilla the whole time, I would have sat there and been like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Even if, like, this is how you could do it. Like, you could have human characters and they're having just the human, like, oh, Billy, you failed your math test. Get off my back, bitch. And then there just happens to be giant monsters fighting in the background. And we keep cutting to Billy and he's like, I gotta save my mom. She's trapped under a beam of steel.
And then he gets eaten.
Like, you have the humans reacting to... Because the original Godzilla movie, like, it was an
reaction.
analogy for nuclear war. Like Godzilla was like a natural disaster almost.
Yeah.
So like
Created by the atomic bomb.
you can have a series where people are reacting to this thing that they just have to live with it.
Yeah.
And you could show what's going on their end, and you can show Godzilla fighting the monster, which is what you
Yes.
really want to see. But like the problem that these cartoons have is that like they make Godzilla into like a pet for the human characters, and I think that's where it falls off, and that's where it gets screwed up.
Because the idea of Godzilla as a pet for anything is dumb.
Godzilla is just a destructive force.
Yes.
Like you can't train him. You can't.
He's a living hurricane.
You can't press a button on your belt loop and he just shows up. Like that's not what Godzilla is supposed to be, and that's where these cartoons failed. So is there room for a Godzilla cartoon? I think you can do it right, but I think that
These did not. This.
you need Japanese people to do it. What's that show with the Titan, Attack on Titan?
Yes,
Do that.
but there's actual. Okay.
Do that with Godzilla. Like you can focus on the human characters, but Godzilla's the threat in the background.
And then he happens.
Like the issue is that the humans are interacting with Godzilla too much. For me, I think that's where the
I
issue
like
comes
that.
from.
So it's actually a cartoon about these characters. Things happen, and then Godzilla, the namesake of the show, is an event that happens every so often.
Yeah.
It's like holy crap! It's fucking Godzilla. There's nothing we can do.
Like these monsters need to be the villains. Like Godzilla can't be a hero as much as you want him to be. He can
He's
still be
kind
cool.
of the hero in a few of the movies, but those are actually the weakest of the Godzilla movies when you think about it.
There's movies where he's the hero, and there's the Gamera series where Gamera is always the hero, and he's still cool.
Yeah.
The Gamera movies are still cool. But
But
like,
they're not as good as the ones where it's the monster is the monster.
for a series, it doesn't work. Like he can't be a part of the team. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
No.
I agree.
Did you guys see the newest one, the American one, 2014 Godzilla?
I heard it was really
I
good.
have it. I did not watch it.
It's pretty.
I heard.
That was really good. I can't wait.
The one with Jack Black I thought was supposed to be like dumb or something like that.
What the
or-
hell was
the
that?
one that
The first one.
Peter Jackson directed.
Oh,
I
that
never
was
saw.
very long.
I heard that, so I didn't watch it.
So, let's say we land this.
Yeah, we'll end this plane. I don't think we have any ideas for our own adaptations this week.
I have one.
Do you? Oh yeah, this shitty thing that you thought of last minute.
Yeah, I did think of it last minute, but how about Mom and Dad Save the Planet? The Spangu Adventures.
How about not?
Well, because you don't remember the movie. Me and Chris remember the movie.
Oh, it was great.
It is.
It was a good
Todd,
movie.
oh Todd, he really is a god.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
I
Oh,
got
the
one.
mushrooms with teeth.
Oh yeah, they were fucking creeping me out as a
They're
kid.
fucking scary
Holy
shit.
Like the cute ass little mushroom thing comes up to you and then it fucking attacks you. That creeped me out as a kid.
I got
Holy
one.
shit.
How about Svengoolie, the animated series?
But he has to show a monster cartoon.
No, it's along the same lines as Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Oh,
It could be an anthology cartoon where he is just in the bookends.
I think that would work.
Do you guys fuck with Svengoolie?
I know what he's talking about. It's a local. It's a local thing. It's like did you ever see
It's
the
like
movie Jack the Bear?
Elvira. Yeah, it's like he's a horror host.
The dad on Jack
Okay.
the Bear.
Nobody knows what Jack the Bear is.
That's actually a great movie.
I joined a
It's got Danny
Svengoolie.
DeVito.
Oh, okay.
I joined a Svengoolie Facebook group, having never seen any of his actual content, and those people are just so. It's a very good community, like it's a strong community, but it's like always just blowing up my timeline. I'm like, fuck you, stupid people.
Just tell it not to notify you and check it yourself.
I'm just gonna leave the group because I don't know shit about Svengoolie. But yeah, Svengoolie the animated series.
Stupid Wise is a cartoon cast page keeps bugging me about crap.
It can't be because I never post anything.
No, it's bugging me about, you had 5 interactions this week. And I'm like, I don't care.
But if you want to find us on Facebook, you can find us at WITA Cartoon, or if you want to email us, shoot us a message at witacartooncast@gmail.com. We're also on Spotify and Google Music, and we have an RSS feed and a YouTube page that will get updated eventually.
Yeah, I think it only has 3 episodes on it.
It's got like 4 or 5. Fuck you. But I think that's all we got for now.
Yep.
So for the Wise is a Cartoon Cast, I am Joey,
I'm Tim.
I'm Chris.
and we will see you guys later.
Yeah.